Hello, everyone. My name is Fitsum Walde-Georges, and I'm from the University of Queensland. Recently, my colleagues and myself published a journal paper titled Building Mining's Economic Linkage, a critical review of local content policy theory. While this paper will be available as a resource library for conference participants, I was asked to provide a brief summary of the key message of the paper. In general, the paper aimed to provide a critical analysis of local content policies, but from a broader scope of building economic linkages based on the mining industry. As we know, in the last decade or so, we have seen a number of countries, particularly in the resource-rich African context, putting in place local content policies with local content requirement provisions. And the argument behind local content policies is really simple. And that is, from a regulator's perspective, is to increase local employment, develop local skills and supplier capabilities through training and knowledge and technology transfer, increase government tax base, and then ultimately promote local value addition. From a company's perspective, it is also an opportunity to have a cost-effective operating margins, and also an opportunity to demonstrate contribution to sustainability, thereby achieving license to operate. So how has LCPs or have LCPs progressed over the years? Well, the result or the progress isn't encouraging. Local content requirements have just ended up being aspirations, and they are generally viewed by companies as inappropriate and temporary inconvenience. So in many cases, companies continue to manage to circumvent around compliances. And then overall, we have very limited locally sourced inputs in many resource-rich African countries. In some cases, we see employment promoted of locals, but in most cases, the skill set that is required from locals is really mid-level, low to mid-level positions. So what are the challenges? Well, the first challenge really relates to the policy itself. So more often we have a very narrow focus on procurement. And in many cases, there is so much emphasis on promoting local ownership rather than developing local content itself. The other issue in terms of policy is targets. So there is a general lack of specific, comprehensive, and consistent targets. And in many cases, we don't find proper and consistent incentives and sanctions in place. Then you have the issue of inconsistency with bilateral and multilateral treaties, such as trade and investment treaties. Then the second issue relates to the mismatch between what is put in place as a target, as a local content target, and what is available locally in terms of skills, in terms of technological capability, but also in terms of overall ability to absorb procurement opportunities. The third issue relates to companies that have high procurement standards. And in most cases, large-scale mining companies have existing relationships with global contractors whom they trust to deliver on time and also quality products and services. Then we have also companies that want to move their operations with the evolving technological innovation. The final issue that we have identified in the paper is in relation to governance of local content policies. especially the issue of inconsistency between different industrial policies and also local content policy often operating or implemented in silo. So while local promoting, the narrow focus objective of local content policies is okay, but it hasn't been progressed so far as much as countries would like to have. But then the major problem then lies with really instrumentalizing local content policies as mining economic linkage objective. So more often, when the focus is on developing local content, then countries end up developing supply chains rather than linkage or economic linkage. And so in such instances, then you have the mining industry being the epicenter of the broader economy rather than being one of the key industries contributing to the overall economy. So in terms of promoting a broader economic transformation, while it's important to promote local content or develop local content through supply chain development and employment, it is really important for countries also to think more broadly in such a way that local content development can lead to broader or broad-based economic development. So in the paper, we recommend that there has to be an in-depth and broadly scoped endowment analysis, such as in terms of the mining and material resources that are available locally, the availability and the potential of human capital, technological capability, and also governance and institutional capacity. Then also countries would need to really think about the different industrial policies that exist and how the local content policies can speak to those broader industrial policies. And then how can these industrial policies sit within an umbrella economic strategy? That way, then everything falls into place and becomes a tool to promote broad-based economic development. So that was the summary of the paper in a nutshell. But if there are any further clarifications or questions that come out of this paper, we are happy to respond. Thank you very much.